Reverend clergy, worthy deacons, worthy state representative, our state, diocesan, and our district officers, Sir Knights, ladies and guests, and especially all the vets. Thank you for your commitment and service over the years. In addition to being active third-degree Knights, that you agreed to be the patriotic and visible arm of the Knights. You've been honor guards, you've done turnouts, you be there for the fallen brothers. We appreciate all that you do for them. Now, my wife Beth and I, we just got back in about 1 o'clock this morning from Hermosillo, Mexico. We had the privilege of joining the American Wheelchair Mission in distributing several wheelchairs in Mexico to some of the impoverished areas. We were there for 4 days. It was just quite an experience. Chris Lewis heads up the American Wheelchair Mission. Does a wonderful job, and that was the charity that the First Lady picked for her charity these 2 years. And right now we're ahead of what we did the last few years. I know we have somewhere coming up on over, I think, $600,000 raised so far just in this diocese. So we got in about 1. We went to exemplification this morning. We were blessed with doing a chili cook-off, judging over in the Woodlands, and then to come with you folks. And I can tell you, this food was much better than the chili that we tested today, for sure. There's a story I'd heard of there's an old gentleman that about once a week actually, he would live near downtown in the city, and there was an old cathedral downtown. He would walk to this cathedral and would pray every week for about 30 minutes and would leave. And this given week, he did this normal thing. He went to the cathedral, he prayed, but he went to walk outside, walking out the dark cathedral. When he opened up the front doors, the sunlight just came beaming through him. It was almost blinding, but he saw a figure standing in the door. And he kept looking at that figure. The figure was looking at him, and he recognized it being the devil. As he kept looking at him, they were looking at each other, and the devil goes, "You know who I am?" Old man says, "Yeah, I know who you are." The devil says, "Are you afraid of me?" Old man says, "I'm not afraid of you." The devil goes, "Well, aren't you afraid of me?" The old man says, "I've been married to your sister for 55 years. That's why." Be honest, folks, I really feel out of place, probably being one of the few only non-veterans here. I think between myself and our faithful navigator, we're probably about the only 2 that are here that I've heard, or that are probably not veterans. So we're honored to be here celebrating not only Veterans Day yesterday, but all the accomplishments and things that you folks have done over the years. For myself, it was in 1972, when I hit 18, my draft number was 236. So I felt pretty safe from that aspect. But as I went on to college and all anyway, by the time I got out of college, the Vietnam conflict had just ended. So they quit the draft. So I carried on with business life and never had the opportunity. But, as we look back, a lot of our fathers and some of our younger guys that I guess they're grandfathers were really considered part of the greatest generation. And actual, when you look at World War I and World War II, during World War I, the Knights of Columbus played a pretty major role in the fact that they were responsible for doing the KC huts that was in World War II and was right near the front lines. And at that time, they had signs posted on the front, but everybody's welcome and everything is free. These were the huts that evolving into the USO as you got into World War II. But as the Knights wrapped up World War I, or the soldiers finished World War I, and there was such a heavy influx of growth at that time for the appreciation that the soldiers had that were Catholic for what the Knights had done for that. As we got into World War II, Similar situations there, but as you came out of that, immense growth happened with the Knights during those first year or two because of that, because of the brothers that had been fighting together for all those years, 5, 6 years, wanted to feel that same camaraderie, wanted to feel the brotherhood, wanted to feel the unity. And so it was some amazing growth during that time. I mean, where else, or what other time in history would you have a situation where you have like 16 and 17-year-olds lying to get into the army, to get to go fight? You know, we got people now running away from having to do that. But, you know, people that I know my father's age were lying to be able to go and defend the country. Unfortunately, that's not in what we deal with today. But we've got, from a fourth degree aspect, as of July 1st, we had over 370,000 Sir Knights in the Knights of Columbus, with over 3,600 assemblies. The Veterans of Air Service hours were over 672,000 hours of service. Military Chaplains AMS co-sponsored seminary and program had made over $200,000 donated, and that's been over $2.2 million since 2012. The Knights of Columbus order-wide, their culture of life, for the ultrasound machines that between Texas and California and Florida, have all placed over 100 ultrasound machines in their states. They're totaling close to 1,600 total worldwide. Yes. And the numbers have proved out that if a young expectant mother can see that 3D, 4D fetus in there, that 96% of them will choose not to abort. So it's just, we're so blessed the fact that Supreme has had this program now for a number of years. Well, they'll cover half the cost of once our council wants to raise that. So from the charity donations just last year, worldwide, there was over $154 million in charity donations. Texas had nearly $10 million in donations, with their state charities doing a little over $1 million. And in all 15 dioceses, 70% of that for state charities comes back to the bishop for their own charities. The total volunteer hours was over 48 million hours in volunteer services that the Knights did. Our Persecuted Christian Fund was $1.7 million, and since 2014 is over $32 million that have done around the world for persecuted Christians. KC Coats for Kids, they gave out over 150,000 coats and over $10 million in food drives. Special Olympics, over $3.7 million. And just for the wheelchair mission we're talking about, last year we gave out almost 9,000 wheelchairs. So 115,000 since 2003. And the councils and assemblies have given over $7 million last year in scholarships. But the real good that is kind of close to our heart is the RSVP program, which helps fund the seminarians to help us with the priests that we so badly need. In 2021, $5.4 million was given to that fund for our seminarians. The cumulative total since it started is almost $92 million that we've given to that program since it started. The seminaries and postulates helped this year by RSVP, again, was close to 6,000 that received aid from that. The Knights assisted getting people back to the church during and following the pandemic. A few months ago, the Houston Chronicle posted an article of the new Texas law that the "In God We Trust" signs could be given as long as they were not having to be purchased by school districts, but if they were donated by someone, they could post an "In God We Trust" poster in the schools. Now, this hadn't happened for many years, but and as good as that was when I read that, when I turned 2 pages back in the Chronicle that day, I saw where Planned Parenthood was going to spend $50 million in this midterm election that we just went through. I think we can attest to that. All the commercial advertisement that we saw on TV over and over and over again, I think they spent most of that $50 million right here in Texas. We sure saw a lot of that. As Knights, we must stand in solidarity with our priests and our bishops and the Holy See. Cardinal DiNardo once mentioned, when he was the president of the USCCB, that how nice it was to know that he had 100,000 brother Knights back in Texas that had his back in the situation dealing with abortion and pro-life issues. January 28, 2003, the March for Life will be in Austin, Texas, and the Fourth Degree usually helps lead that march right behind Bishop Joe Vasquez. The Supreme Court helped our cause a little bit, but that fight is not over. Countless lives have been saved, but we will not stop till our fight for life, till every unborn child is cherished. We're facing an uphill battle. The Catholic demographics trends for the Marist Research poll show that only 10% of practicing Catholics attend weekly Mass. Baptisms are down over 40% since 2000. 20% of baptized do not get their first communion. 85% of confirmed Catholics stop practicing at the age of 21, and many of them make that decision by age 13. And we all know the Catholic marriages are down about 55% since 1990. So to respond to that trend as Knights, we must be the evangelists in helping for ourselves, our families, and our communities. We must be an example of virtuous lives and charitable services. A new program is coming about, which you'll be hearing shortly, that Supreme has started, that Texas, we sent 4 people this past month. So it'll be a new evangelization and faith formation program that you'll be hearing about in the next few months. The Supreme Court decision caused some challenges. A lot of anti-Catholic sentiment came up, especially on the abortion situation. The destruction of property. Many of you heard about them breaking into Catholic churches and destroying tabernacles and things of that nature. The Knights of Columbus do not have a security program, but we can be the eyes and the ears and use our cell phones to contact authorities. But no visible weapons while wearing our brand should be done per Supreme. Now, while many brother Knights have chosen to be part of a security team, which is a good thing, we expect the Knights to step up for that. But we shouldn't be wearing the brand while we're doing that. We can wear our parish shirt or some other shirt, but not having weapons while we have the brand showing. But I would expect our Knights to step up and work with these security teams and so forth, because that's who we are. As an average age, the Knights of Columbus have increased over the years. Supreme is now given a Circle of Honor requirement, and we must bring a certain number of new brothers under 50 years of age. Our goal in Texas for this year was 1,269. And I have been kind of concerned that we can get that many. But fortunately, in the first quarter of this year, we brought in 658, or over 50% of that initial goal at the quarter poll, which is really, really great. 1 month later, we had 3/4 of the number there. So I'm just, really impressed with the fact that, and especially for you fourth degree members, the average age for the fourth degree in our assemblies are well over 60. And we've got to get the new blood in there. Former Master Mike Gallagher had shared the story with me one time that after an organizational meeting where they had turned out for Mass, and he was putting the stuff in his car, and a lady come up to him, and she goes, "Excuse me," said, "this organization that y'all are with, what's the name of it?" And she started asking questions. And she goes, "I've been here this whole weekend, and I've encountered your folk in the dining rooms and elevators, and I've never met a more friendly, nice group of people ever." And she said, y'all have been so nice to us. I mean, anytime I'm near a door, y'all open the door for us. You're trying to help me, because I've never seen anything like that before. And she was talking about how impressed she was. And Mike says, you know, what popped in my head was a song I heard at Mass just a few minutes ago was, they'll know we're a Christian by our love. And that's the song that resonated with him. You know, people are watching us. Kids are watching us. Especially when you're in uniform and they're seeing the sword and the beret and so forth. They're thinking how sharp that looks. So you are the example, whether we want to be or not. In closing, I want to share something that I read about a veteran, whether active duty, discharged, retired, or reserve, is someone who at one point in his life owed a blank check made payable to the United States of America for an amount of up to and including his life. That is honor. And there are way too many people in this country today who no longer understand that fact. Thank you. Vivat Jesus.